Hi, welcome back to Me and Mon Ami. Now, just before Christmas, President Macron here in France decided to play Santa Claus, and he announced what on the surface appeared to be an incredible cut price electric car leasing deal for the people of France. In this video, I want to, unpack Mr. Macron's present and find out if it's, quite what it seems. So it was on, I think, the 12th of December that Mr. Macron went on the old, I think he went on TikTok to surprise everyone. And this is what he said.
Bonjour, je vous prends une minute de votre temps cette fin d'année pour vous parler d'écologie et de voitures. Vous le savez, on veut continuer de réduire nos émissions de CO2. On a une planification écologique qui a été présentée. Et parmi les actions qu'on va mener, il y a remplacer nos véhicules qu'on appelle thermiques par des véhicules électriques. On s'est d'ailleurs organisé, on va produire de plus en plus de véhicules électriques en France. On va produire de plus en plus de batteries électriques en France durant les mois, les années qui viennent. Et le but, c'est qu'on vous aide à acheter des véhicules électriques plutôt produits chez nous. J'en avais pris l'engagement pendant la campagne présidentielle en 2022. Je voulais vous annoncer qu'à partir du 1er janvier, va être mis en place le système de leasing à 100 € par mois. Et donc, quand vous avez besoin de la voiture pour travailler avec des conditions de revenus qui seront détaillées sur la plateforme, vous pourrez être les premiers bénéficiaires à partir du 1er janvier de ce système de leasing, 100 € par mois pour avoir un véhicule électrique.
So why is Mr. Macron doing this? Well, the bottom line is when he was re-elected, one of his manifesto pledges was to make real inroads into developing the electric vehicle market here in France, and not just the electric vehicle market, but the actual electric battery manufacture, which he promised the French people he will be bringing as much as possible of it into France in-house. And indeed, the French are adopting EVs. In 2023, there were almost 500,000 either EVs or EV hybrids sold in France. I think in September and October 2023, there were approximately 20,000 EVs, pure EVs, sold in each of those months. And in terms of development of the charger infrastructure, well, France now has well over 100,000 charging points. I think it's amongst the highest in Europe. I think it's the second highest level of chargers. That said, of course, they are still behind on their targets, and as is the case right across Europe, right across the world, the charging infrastructure is still failing to keep pace with the appetite for electric vehicles. Now, over the last couple of years, in order to incentivize the French to get more EVs, there have been various discounts. I think there's the €5,000 eco bonus on a qualifying new EV, so you instantly get £5,000 back off the government. You often then get up to €1,500 back from your local prefecture, your local council. So potentially you could buy something like the new Citroen C EV for about 18,000 euros once you've got all your eco bonuses, which really does make that a relatively low-cost EV and actually brings its price almost down to that of a gas guzzler. But it's not just that they've got that, they've also got the scrappage scheme, which I think enables you to roll in your old dirty old petrol engine car if it qualifies, if it's beyond a certain age, and then of course you get a bonus, and I think it's about 6,000 euros. But this scheme is entirely different, and what is different about it is who it is aimed at, because for a long time many people have said, oh, it's fine getting an electric car, it's all right for the middle classes who can afford to pay extra and afford to pay the extra upfront costs, etc. It's easy to be good when you're rich. And of course there is a lot of truth in that. You can only do good things if you can afford to do good things, and that's where this scheme comes in, because it is foursquare aimed at people on lower incomes. In fact, your joint family income cannot exceed about 30,000 euros. So this is an EV leasing scheme aimed at the lower end of the market. It's aiming to try and get people who wouldn't otherwise be able to afford an EV to buy an EV. And it's aiming to get them to buy a European EV as opposed to a Chinese EV or an EV from anywhere else, because this scheme seemingly only applies to French or European cars. So which vehicles actually qualify for this scheme? Well, we've got the Renault Megane E-Tech, which is right up at the top end of the price range, the Peugeot E208, you've got the Peugeot E2008, you've got the Citroen EC4, you've got the Fiat 500 electric, you've got the Opel Corsa electric, you've got the Renault Twingo E-Tech, and you've also got the Opel Mokka electric. Sounds like a drink. So you've a very good range of cars there, and you've a very good range of prices, because in terms of the lease deal, the Citroen CE3, which is due out in, they say, in April, you can lease this thing on this scheme for as little as 54 euros a month. Now, bear in mind that is 54 euros a month with no upfront costs, because this is the magic of this scheme. The actual lease deals may not be that much cheaper than a normal conventional lease deal, though I think there is an element of subsidy from the government. But the major subsidy comes is that you do not have to put down a deposit. And for many people, of course, it is that upfront deposit cost that is the real block on actually making the transition from petrol to electric. But there you've got a very good range of electric cars that you can lease. The other big question is how many of these cars are going to be available, because I imagine the list of people who've put their names down already will be quite lengthy. Well, I think they're talking something between 15 and 20,000 vehicles in the first phase, but they've made very clear that if this thing works, they intend to carry it on, and they may well even extend it to second-hand electric cars. So this is very much something that is top of the French president's agenda in terms of trying to electrocute the French. But what about our initial question in our title? What about the Tesla? Well, according to the English Language Connection newspaper, which deals with all sorts of French issues down here, they were adamant that the Tesla would appear on Mr. Macron's list. Now, as you can see, the Tesla does not appear on this list. Now, technically, I think the Model Y can come in at under, I think it's the Model Y, can come in at under 47,000 euros, which would mean perhaps that it qualifies, particularly if it is largely made in France. But I, as yet, can uncover no evidence that this is the case. But I am going to keep pursuing it, and if you know more than me, do let me know. But the Connection newspaper was adamant that you could get a Tesla from the government on this lease scheme. That element may be a little bit too good to be true, but I do think that this is a very interesting experiment from the French government in trying to make and trying to enable people on lower incomes to adopt electric vehicles. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you have, please give us a like, please give us a comment, please think about buying us a coffee. But remember folks, most of all, stay charged.